clearly part of the commerce power to force people to buy a particular product. They got some explaining to do.
Well, how is this law different than the mandate from the government that we have to have car insurance, that we must have a driver's license? There are all sorts of mandates, so how is this overstepping the bounds?
Two very significant reasons. Number one is the state that is requiring you to buy auto insurance. And the state could order you to buy health insurance if, in fact, the state constitution did not prohibit it. The second very significant thing about auto insurance is you buy it in exchange for the privilege of driving a vehicle. You get a driver's right license in exchange for the privilege of driving a vehicle. In this case, your mere existence as a citizen of the United States is the status that causes you to be required to buy health insurance.
Are you going to be asking for injunctive relief?
I'm sure that injunctive relief will be part of it. Yes.
Did you meet with Republican lawmakers to make up your mind about whether to join this lawsuit?
I did not.
At all?
I did not. No.
If
Yeah.
this is as clear a breach of the 10th Amendment as you say it is, then why haven't we heard more? I mean, we've been debating healthcare for a year.
Oh, it's been.
I mean, why hasn't it broken through, though, in the larger, I mean...
Because it wasn't reality. I mean, the suit is not ripe until the president signs it tomorrow or whenever he's going to sign it. I mean, it was not a clear reality that this would be a provision. But just, there have been law review articles all year about whether you could have this health mandate. All kinds of folks have weighed in very heavily on this.
Isn't it true that the federal government can coerce behavior through the tax code, through negative tax implications? And if that's the case, why wouldn't that apply in a case like this?
Well, give me an example, and I'll distinguish it.
I don't know if I can give you specifically one off the top
Well,
of my head.
the federal government does all kinds of coercing by incentives. For example, they say to the state of Colorado, you don't have to pass a law that requires seat belts, but if you want our federal transportation dollars, you will do it. And we do it, but we don't have to, okay? Because they dangle incentives. There's no choices here.
If the Commerce Clause is analogous, though, to the police powers of a state that might exist in a state constitution, and through Colorado's constitutional police powers to protect health, welfare, and safety, it can enact, a state can enact laws that say you have to buy no-fault insurance, as Anastasia was suggesting. Why doesn't the same analogy exist at the federal level through the Commerce Clause if, in fact, health insurance is certainly reasonably related to interstate commerce?
The Commerce Clause allows Congress to regulate interstate commerce, to regulate the commercial activity. What we have here is a situation where someone who chooses not to engage in that activity, I'm not going to buy that product, I don't want to buy that product, who would otherwise not be subject to interstate regulation of commerce because they're not engaging in the commerce, they're forcing you to be in commerce so they can regulate you. It is unprecedented in terms of the reach. And think about the implications. If Congress can say to you, because it's in your interest of your health, you have to buy insurance. What if Congress says to you, we just have way too many obese people. We're going to tell you what to eat, what cereal to buy. Interstate Commerce Clause?
Is that what you're worried about then, a slippery slope?
Exactly. It's an unprecedented expansion of the reading of the powers of Congress under the Interstate Commerce Clause.
Attorney General Suthers, what resources is the AG's office going to commit to this effort? Do you actually have to have, the state equivalent of billable hours to line up on this, or you just sign your name on? And if there are any resources, what's the estimate? And are you concerned at all that with a Democratic legislature, Democratic governor, there might be some snuffing out of your pocketbook for this effort?
I would hope not. I think the resources will be minimal. Let me tell you, as a practical matter, how this works. There will be legal scholars on both sides of this handling the litigation with the state's involvement. Some states will be involved more than others. the states that are closest to the litigation itself, for example, the northern, Florida, for example, will take the lead in this thing if the case is in the northern district of Florida. I would estimate there'll be very minimal expenditure of resources.
What is that?
You said that, go ahead.
I was going to ask, I know you've often worked closely with Governor Ritter before in deciding when to get involved in lawsuits. What were your conversations like today? I can't imagine you all are on the same thinking in this issue.
We are not. We contacted the governor's office, the governor's legal counsel, gave them a copy of a draft complaint, gave them a discussion of why this is an unprecedented expansion of the Commerce Clause, and asked if they wanted to participate, and they declined.
So you said that Congress's intent here is they're telling people to buy health insurance because it's good for their health. I think others would argue that they're telling people you have to buy health insurance because it's good for interstate commerce.
Well, they want to expand the pool of insured. They want to spread it out. That's
So if
exactly
a
right. person
person chooses not to buy health insurance and gets in an accident and falls on the safety net, then that does invoke interstate commerce. It's making my insurance rates go up, Medicaid more expensive, things like that.
Once again, I'll reiterate, there's never been an example of Congress using the Interstate Commerce Clause to not simply regulate commercial activity, but to force you into a commercial activity that you would otherwise not do. That's what is so unprecedented about this.
But by people choosing not to enter the marketplace, it still has an impact on interstate commerce because those people rack up shifted costs by not participating.
You want a real slippery slope. So they can force you to do anything, because if you don't do it, it won't be good for this, or won't be good for that, or it will be bad for interstate commerce. That would be an incredible slippery slope, where they could say, we'll force you to engage in a whole variety of activities because you refraining is not good for interstate commerce. We'd make more money, we'd have more taxes if you engage in these commercial activities, so we're going to make you engage in those commercial activities. That is what's so unprecedented about this.
What is sort of surprising in a way, that if you look at a city government, and if you look at the city hall of any city, before enacting any sort of rule, they go to their lawyers and say, would this be okay with the laws of the state, of the city, of the country? So we're looking at the United States Congress, who over a year of going back and forth on this did not go to their attorneys and say, is this against the Constitution or not?
Realistically, do you actually believe that Harry Reid contacted attorneys of the Justice Department to ask them if it was okay in order to get Ben Nelson's vote, to take Nebraskans off the hook for future tax liabilities? I suspect he did not. And I suspect that you'd be shocked and amazed how